Just tell me when you're ready. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a special press conference in regards to September being National Preparedness Month. We're at the Isaías Gonzalez Soto Library here on Porter Street and Niagara in the city of Buffalo to discuss the giving away of special emergency preparedness kits that will be provided to members of the community, including at our local libraries. I'm Erie County Executive Mark Polenkars, and I'm joined here by our Health Commissioner, Dr. Gail Burstein, as well as our Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Greg Butcher. Greg is responsible for the emergency service aspect, especially when we're talking about disasters, including snow emergencies. We're also joined by the Director of the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library, John Spears, and members of his team. We have Trina Burris here from the United Way of Buffalo and Erie County, who you'll be hearing from as well, and of course our Deputy County Executive, Lisa Shamara. I also want to thank Shannon McGuire from Deaf Access Services for providing us the American Sign Language here today. Emergencies and disasters can happen in an instant. There are, of course, those that come from Mother Nature and others that are man-made. And everybody needs to be prepared for what could be another storm, another emergency, another disaster. We cannot do it on our own in government. We need the assistance of others, and you need to be prepared for what could happen. And that's why Erie County, the Departments of Health, Emergency Services, and others have worked with our partners at the United Way to prepare 5,000 emergency preparedness kits, which we have a version of here today. Some of these we've already given out at local places across Erie County, and we are also very pleased to announce that you will be able to pick up emergency preparedness kits at your local library. So I want to thank the Board of Trustees for the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library, as well as the team led by John Spears, for helping to spearhead this initiative of ensuring that individuals in a community can get an emergency preparedness kit. Now, the kits are not totally inclusive of what you could put in them, but they are what we believe are some of the most important items that you need to have in an emergency situation. They range from first aid kits, power bars, emergency supply of drinking water, as well as a 5-gallon container that you can fill with potable water, because in the worst case scenario, if our water systems went down, you need to have drinking water. It also has something I think is very important, and that's a hand crank radio and flashlight. It does work on batteries, but if the batteries run out, you can hand crank the flashlight and also use it for radio to get the latest information. There's lots of information in our in items that are provided in the emergency preparedness kit, and what I think is important is for the public to understand that as I said, this is not the be-all, end-all. There's other things that you can put in your emergency preparedness kits to ensure that you're prepared for the worst-case situation. You should also, in addition to have this preparedness kit in your house, have other items available in your vehicle. One of the problems we saw this past year is individuals went out in the height of the storm and got stuck in the middle of the blizzard and were not adequately prepared for having to stay there for 6 or 12 hours before they were able to be rescued. So we want to ensure that everybody has not only a kit for their home, but they also understand that they need to put things into their cars now to be prepared for the winter. Yes, it's September. It's still 68, 70 degrees out, but it's not that long from now when we're going to have snow and we're going to have cold temperatures. So I think it's very important for people to understand that now is the time to prepare. There's a reason why September is National Preparedness Month. It's because you are to prepare to get ready for the upcoming winter, for the potential emergency in the future. I also want to highlight that Erie County has been offering for quite a number of years now a special app that you can add to your phone, the Ready Erie app, which is free to download through Android or Apple, which also helps you in an emergency situation. It not only tells you about the additional items that you should have in your home and your car to be prepared for the winter months, but also to allow you to make a plan in case there's an emergency and you have to be able to communicate with other individuals. So we always recommend that you download the Ready Erie app. It also has push notifications to you of the latest information in an emergency situation. So I recommend highly that everyone download the Ready Erie app. I have it on my phone. It's very important to have. It also has information on local shelters as well as evacuation routes if we entered into a situation where we had to evacuate a portion of our community. So make sure you download the Ready Erie app. Before I turn it over to the director of the library, John Spears, I want to note we are joined by our chairwoman of the Erie County Legislature, April Baskin here. I thank Chairwoman Baskin for being here, as well as for her support in the effort that it took to actually create these emergency preparedness kits, approximately 5,000 of them. We know that's not enough for every individual in Erie County, but it is a lot, and it will provide an emergency kit for many households across our community. So just a reminder, if you do not get a kit yourself, you can prepare a kit. You can put a kit together. You should put a kit together to be prepared, to be ready for whatever Mother Nature may bring us, or in a worst case scenario, a man-made disaster or an emergency, which we, of course, are always prepared for in Erie County, but we want people to be prepared for, because we have, unfortunately, throughout the world, have seen incidences where man-made incidences cause an emergency in a disaster situation, and we need to be prepared for those as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the director of the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library System, John Spears, to talk a little bit more about how you can contact your library and find out about getting one of these emergency preparedness kits at your local branch. John?
Thanks, sir. Good morning, everyone. I'm John Spears, the director of the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library, and I want to first thank the county and everyone else involved with helping us be a part of this initiative. There's a lot of ways to think of libraries, but one way that people don't often think of is the concept of preparedness. Libraries help people prepare for jobs, prepare for school, prepare for everything from how to raise a family to how to apply for Social Security. And now we have the opportunity to join with a lot of other community agencies and governments to help people prepare for a disaster or an emergency. We are really glad that we can offer these kits at nearly every one of our locations. And if you're interested in getting one, here's what you do. If you go to our website at www.buffalolib.org, you can click on events and type in emergency kit. And you will get a list of all of the locations that are distributing these and what you need to do for that specific location in order to sign up for one. We've already begun distributing these, and we'll be distributing them through the end of the month. And I can tell you that they are going fast. So if you're interested, please register soon for one of these kits. Here at the Gonzales Soto branch, we still have kits available. So for instance, if you would like one of the kits here, please just call the library at 716-882-1537, and they can sign you up for the distribution that will be taking place here on Wednesday, September 27th from 12 to 2. In addition to offering the kits at each of the libraries, we also have a sample kit where you can see what's inside, and we have instructions on how you can prepare your own kits. So once again, thank you everyone here for allowing the library to be a part of this incredible effort. Thank you.
Thanks, John. We would not have been able to assemble these kits without the assistance of the Buffalo and Erie County United Way. Most of these kits were assembled on the United Way's Day of Caring earlier this year. I want to thank all the members of the United Way and their team and their agency, partner agencies, for the work that they've done to create the best community that we can be, but also to help us ensure that we were able to assemble 5,000 kits and then we could get them out into the public's hands. So I'd like to ask Trina Burris, the executive director, I don't want to downgrade her. She's the president and CEO of the Buffalo and Erie County United Way, to step to the podium and say a few words. Madam President.
Thank you, County Executive Polenkars. Good morning, everybody. United Way, we are super pleased to be partnering with the county and the public libraries, to get these kits out. At the United Way, we focus on the 40% of families that are facing financial instability. And what we know about these families, our neighbors in this community, is that they cannot afford any kind of a disruption. And so when it's time to be prepared, it's all about that in advance preparedness. And so the kits are our one way of helping us to ensure that this group, this critical group of 40% of our neighbors, are prepared as much as we can. In addition to the libraries, we are also distributing these kits throughout our 211 network. And so what we are telling the community today is that starting later this month, in addition to the libraries, community members will be able to call 211 to be directed to agencies across the county where they can receive their kits, for their households as well. County Executive mentioned the volunteers that help put these kits together, and I want to take this opportunity to thank them as well. On our Day of Caring, over 2,000 volunteers helped to put together these kits along with other projects that are needed across the county. So again, thank you so much, County Executive and John Spears, for your help in distributing these, and stay safe and be well.
Thank you, Trina. When an emergency hits, one of the departments that is immediately activated is the Department of Health. We know that in situations across our county, people want to have instantaneous information. They want to know what's happening, and we try to do that and deliver to them. But we also try to ensure that that information is provided to them beforehand so they know what to do in an emergency situation. And the Department of Health takes the lead on that. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our Health Commissioner, Dr. Gail Burstein, to talk a little bit more about their involvement in not only this endeavor, but in ensuring that everyone is prepared for whatever may happen in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. And I also want to thank our warehouse team and the Office of Public Health Emergency Preparedness for coordinating the kit assembly and our complex distribution schedule this month. And I know that the day that they put the kits together, they reported to work at 5:30 a.m. and cranked and put a lot of kits together. So I am so glad to be here today, and despite our run of warm and generally pleasant weather, as a community, we have to stay in the mindset of being prepared for any emergency, including extreme weather conditions and blizzards events. Remember what happened several years ago in October, and then a few years later in November. So you never know when you're going to see snow or another terrible weather event. So today we also want to encourage Erie County residents, especially our older adults, people with chronic medical conditions or mobility issues, to talk through the emergency scenarios with your doctor or caregiver. So for people who require a regular medication, such as people with diabetes, substance use disorder, high blood pressure, or mental health conditions, you should check with your prescriber at least once a year to review your medication and talk about what you do in an emergency for maintaining your medication supply and storing safely at an appropriate temperature. Say, there's a problem where we lose electricity and there's extreme heat, so you want to just make sure that you have a plan to take care of that medication that you need to take every day. So this discussion that you have with your prescriber can cover prescription medication supplies and storage, oxygen service if you need oxygen, medical device charging, or adjusting treatment schedules in case of power loss or inability to travel. And some questions you might ask to guide your thinking. Is it possible to get a few extra days supply of a needed medication or an extra oxygen delivery? Can you get battery backups for medical devices or equipment? Does your household have a generator that comes on automatically with power loss? Can you adjust a dialysis or other treatment schedule? So these are things you should plan ahead for when that time happens. So start with your most immediate life safety concerns, and then think about what resources you have, what resources you need, and what are your options. So the time to make or revise your plan is right now. Emergencies can happen at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Burstein. Our Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services spends every day of the year preparing for some of the worst case scenarios. As we say in the emergency services field, you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best. Last year's blizzard was the worst. It was the worst we've seen. When our special crews that are trained to go out in extreme cold conditions came back and said they don't ever want to go back out in that condition again because it was so bad, and they were wearing their full winter gear and prepared adequately, it just told you how bad it was. And it's important that everyone understand that emergency preparedness begins with you, begins with your home. We just can't do it on our own. We need our partners in the community to play a role. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Gregory Butcher, to talk a little bit more about what you can do to ensure that you're prepared for whatever happens in the future. Greg?
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm glad to see everyone here as we talk about preparedness in the month of September. Today we were reviewing the opportunity we have with these wonderful emergency preparedness kits put together by the Public Health Emergency Preparedness crew and our partners from the Health Department. You know, we do understand that 5,000 kits will only go so far, but we're hoping that this is an opportunity for the public to broaden their understanding of how important being prepared is. As the county executive pointed out, we've had and experienced in this community some severe storms over the many decades of recent memory. And it's something to point out how important it is not only to be prepared, but that you pay attention to the press briefings and the news reports that give the most important information to the public, and hope that they all stay aware and prepared of the situations around them. When we change statuses in the community, such as states of emergency or emergency orders that may impact travel and how you may get to, as Dr. Burstein pointed out, to your physician or to a medical need or any of those other areas like retrieving food from stores, those are all things we want everyone to keep in the forefront of their mind as we approach what could be usually some of the worst weather times for us as we experience as a community. Again, we just want everyone to be cognizant of how important it is to have themselves as well as their family prepared and to stay safe during inclement weather and those things that will impact us as a community. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. As executive, I have the ability to oversee the many agencies that run Erie County government, but we cannot do it on our own. We need to have the support of our partners in the Erie County Legislature, including funding the work that we do. And I want to say that we have a great partner in the chairwoman of the Erie County Legislature, April Baskin, who understands the importance of emergency service as well as being prepared. And I thank her for her support of our efforts, and invite her to say a few words if she like.
Thank you, County Executive. Thank you to our friends that are joining us here today, and especially those who helped lead this initiative under the Polling Cars Administration in the county. Greg, Department of Emergency Services. Trina, thank you for your support over at the United Way. And Dr. Bernstein, thank you so much. And to our library staff, Director Spears, I see Dorinda's here, and all of our friends here at the libraries. We really, really appreciate all that you do for Erie County, but helping us to be able to prioritize safety in emergency situations as well. There's a special guest here today with us that I'd like to highlight. He is my hero. He's 3 years old, and he's my son, Josiah Mac. Josiah taught me a huge lesson last Christmas. Josiah and I were trapped in our home in East Buffalo for 3 days during the Christmas blizzard. Josiah and I were alone. We didn't have Christmas, but more important than that, we did not have any heat or electricity for hours and hours and hours. And one thing that I learned as a mother and as a leader in that time is the true importance and the true meaning behind the phrase that we often use: if you don't prepare, you are prepared, but you're prepared to fail. I think there are lots of families and mothers across Erie County that may have felt that they themselves had failed their families last holiday season with the unexpected blizzard. And now what we have, because of the leadership of our county executive and my colleagues in the county legislature, is an opportunity for you to get ahead of that for the future, for you no longer to have to suffer in situations and just go without anything like so many of us did last Christmas. But you will have tools in your cars, in your closet, something to grab and hold on to until help comes. I can't thank the county executive and our partners in government and these agencies enough for helping us keep preparedness at the forefront of our minds as we go into the winter season. We know here in Buffalo and Erie County what a brutal winter is. It seems like sometimes we are the residents in this country who know it the most. So thank you again for being able to allow the county legislature to support this initiative, County Executive Polling Cars, again to our partners, and again to those in Erie County who had to brave the storm last holiday season. Know that help is here. Take advantage of these opportunities to get these kits, and if means allow you to, prepare a kit yourself. Prepare a kit yourself, prepare one for a family member or neighbor, and let's stay ahead of the tragedies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One final word. You have to prepare for the worst, as we say, hope for the best. But we also need individuals to exercise common sense in a worst-case situation. We unfortunately lost far too many people last year in the blizzard. We've always done a very good job of getting through blizzards and winter storms without losing many individuals in our community, and we lost far too many last year. And we're sitting in the Emergency Operations Center saddened to see these reports of deaths come in, knowing that we could not get out to many of these individuals because of the ferocity of the storm. So as we go forward in the future, I ask everyone also to not only be prepared, but to utilize common sense in a worst-case situation. If our emergency vehicles cannot get on the road, if emergency services are so prevented from responding because of the conditions, we ask everyone to stay inside. I know it may be cold, as the chairwoman noted in her house when the power was out. It was always better to be inside a home that is blocked from the weather outside than to try to go to someone's house elsewhere and not be able to get there. Far too many people died going out in the storm and not getting to where they wanted to in the long run because the conditions were so bad. Hopefully we never face that again, but we did face it once. And during my tenure as county executive, we faced 4 official blizzards, which is more than occurred in the 40 years before. And that does not include the 2 superstorms, which dumped 7 feet of snow in November of 2014 and last November. So we faced 6 terrible events during my tenure in office. Climate change is real. We're going to have more of these storms in the future. So you need to be prepared, and please exercise common sense when a disaster hits so that you can protect yourself and your family. Thank you all for being here. Don't forget to contact your local library to find out when the emergency preparedness kits will be distributed at your local branch. And as always, please download the Ready Erie app for all of your devices. It is a great tool that can assist you in a disaster situation, but it also can help you prepare beforehand so that when the worst case situation does hit, you're prepared to respond appropriately. That'll open it up to any questions.
Yeah, could someone just go through what's in a kit?
Sure, I'll turn this over to Greg. Would you? And I'll hand you each thing.
So here, the first big item we have in here is the flashlight radio. While it is battery operated, the county executive pointed out earlier, it does have a backup. It has a hand crank that will help to generate enough energy so that the light could be used in an emergency needing to move somewhere or whatnot without power. Here we have a collapsible water bag. We're hoping that the intent for its use is that it'll be filled before the point of emergency or just prior to, so that you can have some potable drinking water available for members of the family. And here is the emergency drinking water. If you don't have the opportunity or are put in a position where you cannot fill a drinking water container, it is a drinking water packet, that can tear open and be utilized. And here, believe it or not, in this tiny little package is actually a blanket. It's what we call a survival rescue blanket. It utilizes the heat of the human body to help keep yourself warm as much as it can. And it's actually quite compact, but opens up large enough to cover a person. Here we have a set of gloves, often referred to in the fire service as fireballs. They're a fabric glove that have a rubber coating on them, and a set of duct tape in the event you need to seal or close any windows or access points to keep yourself warm, and the gloves will help your hands. Here we have a safety whistle. This whistle can be used to notify someone that you're in trouble, or to identify yourself in an area or a point where it's very difficult to see and around. It's a nice tool to use in the need to notify people. Here, everyone has seen these, whether they're in movies or played with them as a child. They are a breakable fluorescent tube that lights up, a glow stick it's often referred to as. This provides you another light source in the event that the battery or flashlight crank is not available. And here we have an energy bar. Obviously, Dr. Burstein's crew is all about health, and you need to keep energy in these situations in which you can't sustain food or water, so we're providing the energy bars as well. And lo and behold, we need a first aid kit. You never know what could happen to you in an event where you're cut off from everybody else, and this is just, while it's small, it does provide some important tools such as Band-Aids and the like to be able to fix any of those small cuts that may occur.
Thank you, Greg. One of the things that's great about the kits is you can add additional items to it. So depending on what your needs are, you can add additional items. You can put additional energy bars in. You can put other items, especially related to prescription drugs. If you have a prescription that you have to take, as Dr. Burstein noted, and you're running low, you should always have a few extra days supply. We recommend that you have 2 weeks worth of additional prescriptions at any time, because you never know what might happen. So when you start getting to a point where you have less than 2 weeks worth of prescriptions for a needed prescription, you should go and have your prescription refilled, so you always have at least 2 weeks available. During the storm, one of the calls that we kept on getting to our specialized 858 snow number is, I've run out of my prescriptions and I need them for whatever the particular issue was, or they could have a serious health effect or even die. And we know that the storm, while it had an impact on our community for a number of days, didn't last 2 weeks. So you want to ensure you have 2 weeks worth of supply of your prescriptions at any time. And if need be, you could even put extras in your emergency kit in the hopes that you never have to use them, but if you do, they're there. So make sure you, if you can't pick up a kit from Erie County in the libraries and in the United Way, make sure you create your own. And we recommend certain items to be in it. Those are the items that we've put in our kits, but you can put anything in else that you feel is necessary. If you have little ones like Josiah, and you know that they like eating particular cereal, you might want to put that cereal in there so it's always there, and then check it every year to make sure once it's expired you put something else in there, so you're not giving the little ones cereal that is expired. But things like that make a difference in an emergency situation. Yeah, he's like, don't give me expired cereal. Any other questions? All right, thank you everybody, and thank you for being here today.
Good job.
Yeah.